The storm raged outside, a wild symphony of wind and rain that rattled the windows of the old ranch house. Inside, the ranch boss stood near the fireplace, his silhouette outlined against the flickering light. His thoughts were focused on the barn, where he needed to check on the horses and secure the hay before the storm wreaked further havoc. He felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, the kind that came with years of hard work, pride, and a stubborn refusal to show fear. As he grabbed his coat, he could hear the rain pounding against the roof, a relentless reminder of nature's fury. It would be easy to just let it be, to ignore the barn for the night. But the ranch needed him. It always did. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the task ahead. Just then, the door swung open and in rushed the maid, her hair plastered against her forehead, cheeks flushed from the cold and urgency. "Boss!" she exclaimed, her voice cutting through the sound of the storm. Her eyes were wide, filled with a mixture of fear and determination that caught him off guard. She was from a humble background, but in that moment she seemed larger than life. "Don't go to the barn." Her hand shot out, gripping his collar with surprising strength, pulling him closer. The ranch boss blinked, taken aback by her boldness. "What are you talking about?" he asked, trying to sound authoritative, though he felt a flicker of something else. A twinge of admiration, perhaps. "The foreman has a blade," she warned, her voice lowering as if sharing a dark secret. "I saw him. He's up to no good. Please, you have to trust me." He studied her face, the earnestness in her features, the way the flickering firelight highlighted the determination in her eyes. He had always dismissed the maid as just another worker, someone meant to clean and serve. Yet here she was, trying to save him. A mix of irritation and intrigue washed over him. How dare she think she could dictate his actions? But then again, who was he to dismiss her concern? "You're overreacting," he replied, though the weight of her words hung in the air. "I can handle myself, you know that." Her grip tightened and he could feel the warmth of her hand seeping through his coat. "No, you don't understand. He's not just angry. He's desperate. You need to stay inside. I can't lose you, not like this." The warmth of her words sent a shiver down his spine, one that had nothing to do with the cold night. He had fought tooth and nail to build this ranch, to carve out a place for himself in a world that often felt unforgiving. And yet, here he was, on the brink of a confrontation that could change everything. "Do you really think I'd let some foreman run me out of my own barn?" he challenged, trying to mask the doubt that crept into the corners of his mind. For a moment, her expression softened. "It's not about being run out. It's about being smart. Just listen to me this once." As the storm raged on, echoing their unspoken emotions, he felt the tension build between them, a thin line strung taut with possibilities. It was strange how a moment like this, a simple warning, could stir something deep within. He had grown accustomed to solitude, to bearing his burdens alone, but here stood this fierce woman, willing to fight for him, even if it meant risking her own safety. His resolve faltered just for a second. Maybe he didn't have to be the lone cowboy every time. "All right," he finally said, his voice softer now. "We'll stay here for a moment, but we can't just ignore it. If he's really dangerous, I can take care of it," she insisted, releasing her grip on his collar, though the intensity of her gaze remained. "Just let me help. You're not alone anymore, boss." In that moment, with the howling wind surrounding them, he realized just how alone he had felt for years. The ranch was his life, but it was also a heavy weight on his shoulders. Perhaps allowing her to help could lighten that load, even just a little. He nodded slowly, uncertain of where this path would lead them. "Fine, let's figure it out together then. But you have to promise to stay close." The maid smiled, a flicker of relief washing over her features. "I promise." As the storm continued to rage outside, there was a fragile truce forming between them, a tentative alliance forged in the heat of fear and uncertainty. The ranch boss glanced out the window, and for the first time that night, he felt a sense of duality, a blend of trepidation and hope. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, he thought to himself as he turned his attention back to the maid. They stood there for a moment, two figures against the storm, each grappling with their own fears and desires. Outside, the wind howled as if pleading for a resolution, while inside, the tension simmered, thick with potential. It was a strange dance of emotions, one that neither of them had anticipated but that seemed to bind them together in ways they were only beginning to understand. "Let's stay vigilant," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper as he looked into her eyes. He sensed that this moment would mark a turning point, not just for the night but for both of them, and as they prepared to face whatever was lurking in the shadows, he realized that perhaps it was time to let someone in, to share not just the burdens of the ranch, but the unspoken fears that had long haunted him. The ranch boss stood still for a moment, the storm rattling the windows of the old ranch house, a sound that echoed the turmoil within him. The maid's words replayed in his mind like a haunting melody. "The foreman has a blade." The seriousness of her warning lingered in the air, thickening the atmosphere around them. He took a deep breath, pushing away the uncertainty that clouded his thoughts. "I need to see for myself," he muttered, more to convince himself than her. But as he moved toward the door, he felt her presence beside him, unwavering and fierce. The storm howled outside, but inside, the tension crystallized into something palpable between them, something he didn't quite understand. "Boss, please," she urged, her voice laced with concern. "You can't just walk into danger because you think you can handle yourself. This isn't just about you. It's about the ranch, about all of us." There was a fire in her eyes that caught him off guard. He had always seen her as just the maid, doing her duty, keeping things in order. Yet here she was, a warrior spirit wrapped in a simple apron, challenging his assumptions. He turned to her, noticing how the firelight danced across her features, illuminating the intensity of her conviction. "What do you suggest I do?" he asked, his irritation creeping back, but it was punctured by an undeniable spark of respect. "Sit here and wait while he does what he wants?" Her gaze softened slightly, and he could see the flicker of doubt in her eyes, a moment of vulnerability that reminded him she was human too. "No, not sit back," she said, shaking her head. "But we can be smart about this. We don't have to confront him without a plan." He rubbed the back of his neck, a nervous gesture he hated to admit he had. The weight of running the ranch always felt heavier when faced with threats from those he considered part of his team. There was something unsettling about this foreman, something that stirred unease deep in his gut. "All right," he conceded, folding his arms and leaning against the doorframe, the wood warm against his back. "We can figure it out together. But tell me what you want me to do. I won't let him take this place from me without a fight." She nodded, her determination palpable. "We need to gather some tools, something to defend ourselves just in case, and we should keep our voices low. If he hears us, then we'll be in trouble," he finished for her, the reality of the situation weighing heavily on them both. Despite the urgency, he felt a strange sense of camaraderie building between them, one that had been absent before. It was as if the dark storm outside had forged a connection that had always been beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to emerge. As they began to move through the dimly lit halls of the ranch, the maid led the way, her footsteps quiet yet purposeful. He followed closely behind, noting how she instinctively avoided the creaky floorboards, her movements careful and deliberate. It struck him then how different they were and yet how alike. They both carried burdens, though made of different weights, his from a lifetime of responsibility, hers from the fragile position she held in a world that often forgot the value of a servant. "Why do you care so much?" he asked suddenly, the question spilling out before he could hold it back. "You could just turn a blind eye and stay out of it. This isn't your fight." She paused, glancing back at him with an expression that was equal parts defiance and honesty. "Because I've seen what happens when people don't stand up for themselves. I don't want to see you hurt, boss. You've worked too hard for this place to let someone like him take it away." The sincerity of her words struck him, and he found himself at a loss for how to respond. It was a refreshing change from the usual bravado of those around him, who only saw the ranch as a means to an end. To her, it was personal. It was home. "Thank you," he finally said, the words feeling strange on his tongue. He had never been one to express gratitude easily, but there was something about the way she stood there, resolute and unwavering, that broke through his guarded exterior. "I suppose I appreciate your concern, even if I don't always show it." A small smile cracked her serious demeanor, and for a moment, the tension eased, replaced by a warmth that thawed the cold grip of the storm outside. "You're welcome," she replied, her tone lightening. "Now let's figure out how to deal with the foreman before he decides to come knocking." As they made their way toward the barn entrance, they shared quick glances, their unspoken understanding growing stronger with each step. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, fueled by the shared risks of the night. The maid's unwavering support ignited something within him, a flicker of hope amidst the darkness. He reached for the barn door, his heart racing not just from the impending confrontation but also from the chaos of conflicting emotions swirling within him. For so long he had shut people out, convinced that vulnerability was a weakness. But here was this woman standing by his side, ready to face the unknown with him. He opened the door, the cold wind rushing in, a reminder of the storm that raged outside. "Just stay close," he instructed, his voice steady now, bolstered by her presence. "I will," she promised, her expression fierce. "Together, we can handle anything." As they stepped into the night, the rain pouring down around them, he felt the anticipation building. This was no longer just about him. This was about them, about standing together against a threat that loomed larger than either of them alone. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, he thought, the sentiment brushing against the edge of his mind as they moved forward into the storm. The bond between them, forged in fear and determination, promised to shape the course of their lives in ways they had yet to discover. The wind howled as they approached the barn, the storm raging outside mirroring the turmoil brewing within them. The ranch boss felt the weight of urgency seep into his bones, each step dragging him closer to a confrontation he had tried to avoid. He glanced sideways at the maid, her expression fierce and resolute, a stark contrast to the shadows dancing around them. There was strength in her presence, an unyielding spirit that ignited something deep within him, a flicker of courage amid the fear. "I can't believe we're doing this," he muttered, his heart racing. The barn loomed ahead, dark and foreboding. A place that had always been a sanctuary now turned into a potential battlefield. Rain pelted the roof like 1,000 tiny fists, drowning out their footsteps. "What if he's waiting for us?" "Then we'll be ready," she replied, her voice steady. "We can't back down now, not when so much is at stake." "Right," he nodded, trying to convince himself as much as her. The foreman had been acting erratically, tensions rising on the ranch, and it was only a matter of time before things escalated. He could feel his mind racing, replaying every interaction he'd had with the foreman, the hints of betrayal woven through casual remarks, the simmering resentment bubbling just below the surface. As they reached the barn door, he hesitated, his hand hovering above the handle. Doubt flooded his mind, but then he glanced at the maid. There was a fierce determination etched in her features, and in that moment, he knew he couldn't let her down. "We go in together," he stated, his voice firmer now. "Together," she echoed, and the simple word felt like a promise. He pulled the door open slowly, revealing the dimly lit interior, shadows stretching like monstrous fingers. The smell of hay and damp earth filled the air, mingling with the fresh scent of rain. As they stepped inside, silence enveloped them, the only sound, the distant rumble of thunder. "Where is he?" the ranch boss whispered, scanning the dark corners of the barn. Every instinct urged him to be cautious, yet he felt the maid's presence beside him, a silent reminder of what they were fighting for. Suddenly, a noise broke the stillness. The foreman emerged from the shadows, a glint of metal catching the dim light. His expression was cold, eyes narrowed with disdain. "Well, if it isn't the boss and his little maid," he taunted, the blade in his hand gleaming ominously. "Get away from here, Thomas," the ranch boss commanded, anger boiling within him. "This isn't going to end well for you." "What are you going to do about it?" the foreman sneered, stepping closer, brandishing the knife with a practiced ease. "You think you can just tell me to leave? This ranch isn't yours anymore. It's mine for the taking." The tension in the air thickened, suffocating and electric. The maid stepped forward, positioning herself slightly in front of the ranch boss. "You don't have to do this," she said, her voice steady but laced with urgency. "We can talk about this. No one needs to get hurt." "Stay back," the foreman snapped, his voice rising. "You think you can protect him? You're just a maid. You're nothing." The insult hung heavy in the air, and for a fleeting moment, the ranch boss felt a surge of vulnerability. But then he felt the warmth of the maid's presence beside him, grounding him, reminding him why they were here. "You're wrong," he said firmly, taking a step forward. "She's more than you'll ever understand, and she stands by me because she believes in this place." The foreman's expression shifted, annoyance flaring at the ranch boss's defiance. "You think you can win her over with words? She'll see you for who you really are, the weak man who can't even protect his own property." With that, the foreman lunged, the blade flashing through the dim light. Instinctively, the ranch boss pushed the maid aside, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The knife sliced through the air, narrowly missing him, and in that split second, everything shifted. They were no longer just two separate lives, but intertwined in this moment of desperation. The maid, undeterred, positioned herself next to him again, ready to face the threat head-on. "We can fight him together," she said, her voice unwavering. "Together," he echoed, the word resonating between them, forging a bond stronger than any fear. He could feel his heart pounding, not just from the imminent danger, but from the realization of her unwavering support. As the foreman regained his stance, a twisted look of anger painted across his features. The ranch boss took a deep breath, grounded in the knowledge that he wasn't alone. "You think you can take this ranch from me?" he shouted, his voice filled with defiance. "You're wrong. This place means everything to me, and I won't let you destroy it." The foreman laughed, a harsh sound that sent chills down his spine. "You're a fool if you think you can fight me. I have nothing to lose." "But I do," the ranch boss interjected, feeling a rush of determination surge through him. "I have her. I have this ranch, and I won't let you take it from me without a fight." The confrontation escalated as they circled one another, the maid at his side, her presence a shield against the chaos. In that moment, he understood that this wasn't merely about reclaiming authority. It was about protecting the life they had built together among the rolling hills and the blossoming fields. With a sudden burst of courage, the ranch boss lunged forward, trying to wrestle the knife from the foreman's grip. The tension hung thick in the air as they struggled, clashing against one another, the fight for survival merging with the fight for everything he held dear. The maid's voice cut through the noise, urging him on, amplifying the strength he didn't know he possessed. "You can do this," she cried, her unwavering belief giving him a renewed sense of purpose. As they fought, it became clear that neither could afford to give in, not now, not when everything was on the line. In that moment of chaos, the ranch boss felt a surge of clarity wash over him, a realization that this was more than just a struggle. It was a defining moment that would shape their futures. Just as the foreman seemed to gain the upper hand, pushing him back against the barn wall, the ranch boss remembered the glimmer of hope in the maid's eyes. She believed in him, and that belief ignited a fire within. With one final heave, he pushed past the foreman's hold and landed a blow that sent the blade flying across the barn floor, clattering to the ground. Breathing heavily, he turned to face the foreman, whose expression had shifted from anger to shock. "This is my home," he said, voice steady, "and I will fight for it, no matter the odds." The foreman, realizing his defeat, backed away, eyes narrowed in contempt. "This isn't over," he spat, before turning and disappearing into the shadows of the barn. The tension dissipated, replaced by an overwhelming sense of relief. The ranch boss turned to the maid, their eyes locking, an unspoken understanding passing between them. They had faced the storm together, and now, standing in the aftermath, he felt a connection he had never expected. "Thank you," he breathed, unable to hold back the gratitude that welled within him. "I couldn't have done it without you." She smiled softly, the warmth of her expression filling the room. "I knew you could do it. You just needed to believe." In that moment, amidst the remnants of chaos, Something shifted between them. A bond forged in fire, ready to grow stronger in the days to come. The storm outside raged on, but for the first time that night, the ranch boss felt a glimmer of hope. Together, they could weather any storm. His heart soared with the thought, even as he knew that challenges would still lie ahead. Thank you for listening, and remember to leave a comment about your favorite moment. He found himself thinking, almost absent-mindedly as he stood there, filled with a sense of renewed purpose for both the ranch and the unexpected partnership that had taken root between them. As the standoff reached its critical point, the ranch boss could feel the palpable tension in the air. His heart raced, and every nerve in his body was alive with adrenaline. "You think you can come here and take what's mine?" he shouted, his voice echoing off the barn walls. His focus remained on the foreman, who stood defiantly with a blade glinting in the dim light, fueled by resentment and ambition. The maid stepped closer, her presence a solid pillar of support beside him. "You don't have to do this alone," she urged, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. "We can face him together." He turned to her, catching the fierce determination in her eyes. In that moment he realized that her strength was just as vital as his own. "What do you know about fighting for a ranch?" The foreman sneered, his disdain evident. "You who've only ever dusted off tables and swept floors?" She met the foreman's gaze without flinching. "I know about standing up for what's right, and I'll stand by him no matter what." Her words hung in the air, striking a chord deep within the ranch boss. Here was a woman who believed in him, who saw something worth fighting for in this unforgiving world. The ranch boss felt his resolve harden. "This isn't just about me or my ranch," he declared, taking a step forward. "This is about the people who work here, the community. You've forgotten that." The foreman scoffed, rolling his eyes. "You think they care? They're just waiting for me to take charge. I'll show them what real leadership looks like." "No!" the ranch boss countered fiercely. "You'll show them tyranny. I won't let you ruin this place." With renewed strength, he charged at the foreman, tackling him to the ground. The blade skittered away, clattering against the barn floor. The maid gasped, and for a moment everything felt suspended in time. They wrestled, the foreman struggling to regain control, but the ranch boss was fueled by a fiery determination to protect the life he had built. "Get up!" the maid shouted, her voice cutting through the haze of the struggle. "You have to finish this." Her words ignited a fire within him. He pushed the foreman off, scrambling to his feet, and for the first time, he could see the fear behind the foreman's bravado. The foreman stumbled back, realizing the tide was shifting. "This isn't over," the foreman spat as he backed away, glancing around nervously as if looking for an escape route. The ranch boss took a step forward, ready to finish what had begun. "You're right. It's not over. It's just the beginning." At that moment, as the foreman turned to escape, the weight of uncertainty hung heavy in the air. The ranch boss felt the maid's unwavering presence beside him, their bond solidified in shared adrenaline and mutual respect. When the foreman disappeared into the shadows, the adrenaline began to fade, replaced by an overwhelming sense of relief. The ranch boss turned to the maid, who was still catching her breath, her expression a mixture of concern and pride. "You did it," she said softly, her eyes shining with admiration. "No, we did it," he corrected her, reaching out to grasp her shoulder firmly. "I wouldn't have been able to without you. You were right there with me." "Sometimes it just takes someone to believe in you," she replied, her voice almost a whisper. The walls of the barn felt like they were closing in, but it also felt like a sanctuary where their fears had been faced head-on. As they stood together, the air shifted. It was charged with unspoken emotions. The ranch boss's heart swelled with gratitude and something deeper, something he had fought against for so long. He could no longer deny the bond that was forming between them. "Thank you for not letting me walk into danger alone," he said, his voice steadying as he looked at her. "It means more than you know." She smiled, and in that smile, he caught a glimpse of the warmth and strength that had drawn him to her from the beginning. With the foreman gone, the threat had lifted, but the emotional weight of the moment lingered, making it all the more poignant. They stood in the barn, feeling the remnants of the storm both inside and outside. As the rain pattered against the roof, it felt somehow soothing, a reminder that they had weathered this storm together. The ranch boss took a step closer, drawn inexplicably to the comfort her presence provided. "I need you to know something," he began, his voice dropping to a quieter tone. "This ranch, it's not just land or cattle to me. It's every moment we've shared, every laugh, every struggle. I want you to be a part of that." Her eyes widened, surprise flickering across her face. "What do you mean?" "I mean..." He hesitated, searching for the right words. "I mean that while I've been trying to protect everything, I've been pushing you away. But it's clear to me now that I don't want to do this without you." A moment of silence enveloped them, charged with possibilities. "I don't need to be in charge, but I want to be here. With you. I've seen your worth, and it's more than just the tasks you do." Her smile widened, and he felt his heart lifting in response. "I want to be here too. I've believed in you from the start." As they stood together in the aftermath of the confrontation, the realization dawned on him that this partnership, rooted in trust, respect, and shared experiences, was something he had never expected to find. "Thank you for listening, and remember to leave a comment about your favorite moment," he thought, almost as an afterthought, filled with a sense of renewed purpose for both the ranch and the unexpected partnership that had taken root between them. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside the barn it felt like a new beginning. Together, they could face whatever came next, ready to embrace the future they would build side by side, fortified by the trials they had endured.